Hello, welcome to the Villages, Florida. My name is David. I'm a realtor with Florida Realty Investments, and every week we take an in-depth look at what's happening in the real estate market here. We focus on Central Florida. We're looking at the Villages. July 4th weekend just passed. I wanted to get some video to commemorate all the neighborhoods that put flags out and also to give my audience a break from the video that I've been showing for an interminable length of time now. We'll try to mix the videos up. But the point of this channel is for you to become educated about what's happening in the Villages real estate market. Whether you are a buyer or a seller, you want to get the most for your money. As a buyer, you want to offer the lowest reasonable offer. And as a seller, you want to ask the highest reasonable price. So using data, we can help both buyers and sellers validate the numbers that we come up with. Obviously, if you're a seller, we'll help you justify your listing price. And if you're a buyer, we'll give you confidence that you're getting a good deal. I'm going to show you a little bit of the tools that we use to find value. But a couple of things before we start. First, we produce this show every Monday. Make sure you check the date to ensure you're getting the most recent information. Secondly, we have a website, DavidisinFlorida.com. Please visit us there, or if you want to contact me, either DavidisinFlorida@gmail.com or through the website DavidisinFlorida.com. Another important point to note is that in the Villages we have two real estate markets. We have the VLS and the MLS. The MLS, the multiple listing service, is what buyers and sellers are used to seeing in other real estate markets around the country. The VLS is owned by the Villages itself. It's the Villages listing service. It's the only marketplace on which you will find new homes. But if you are looking to buy or sell a pre-owned home, you need to decide as a seller which market to list on. And as a buyer, you need to ensure that you're seeing properties on both markets. Without that, you will not be able to see everything for sale. So with that out of the way, let's take a look at what's happening this week. We start every week by taking a look at the yield on the US 10-year note. The mortgage rate most closely tracks this yield, usually about 3 percentage points higher. And you can see we're still hovering around 4.3, 4.4%, putting us close to 7.5% on mortgages. Who knows what rates will do? It's an election year. Historically, that has not meant higher rates. But with the US borrowing $1 trillion every 100 days, hard to imagine rates can go down. So now let's zoom in on the Villages. For those who don't know where it's located, this map is showing you the location of the Villages, and on this map, every dot represents an active listing. The size of the dot represents the size of the home, and the color of the dot represents its price per square foot. The darker the circle, the lower per square foot. The lighter the circle, the more expensive per square foot. It is interesting when you compare this visual, which shows you the Lake Sumter area and the properties delineated by price per square foot, and compare it to the identical properties, where here we're showing the size and the price, not the price per square foot. Obviously, with the price per square foot, deals become much more readily apparent. So now that we've zoomed in on the Villages, let's take a look at how I've broken the Villages down into 4 separate areas. The first is the area that I'm calling the North. This is everything north of Highway 466 and also south of Highway 42. The Mid-North is everything south of 466 but north of 466A. The Mid-South is everything south of 466A but north of 44. And the South is everything south of Highway 44. These graphs are showing you the properties for sale, and the color is representing its price per square foot. I'm going to analyze each of these 4 areas individually and compare them so you can get some idea as to how sizes, prices, and price per square foot vary between these different regions. But before we look at the differences in the regions, let's take a look at some long-term trends. This is the number of listings week by week. This week, 477 listings. Last week, 465. A year ago, there were only 322. Lowest price home in the Villages currently $151,900. Originally $239,900. And a new listing, which is currently listed for $2,950,000, which is the same price that it was originally listed at. A couple more long-term charts before we take a look at the Villages by region. Here we're looking at the median list price per square foot for all listings this week, 258.20. Last week, 261.95. We are lower than the median listing price per square foot for the same week last year when it was 259.80. We don't include this graph every week, but I did this week because this is the worst number that we've seen since we started keeping this record. This is the median time on the market for all listings. This week, 60 days compared to only 57 days last week and compared to only 54 days the same week a year ago. I will repeat, this is the worst number that we've seen over the last 2-3 years. So just to go over these areas again, the north, the area south of 42 and north of 466, there are 152 active listings. The mid-north between 466 and 466A, 46 listings. The mid-south between 466A and 44, 215 listings. And south, everything south of 44, 64 active listings. We'll start by analyzing the villages as a whole. 477 active listings currently, ranging in size from 875 square feet to 4,216 square feet. Per foot in the villages currently ranging from $138 a foot to $789 a square foot. Graphs at the bottom are showing you how many properties are available at each price and how many properties are available at each size. So let's study the north more deeply. The smallest home for sale currently is 875 square feet, the largest 3,986 square feet, the least expensive 152,000, the most expensive $1,003,000. The least expensive on a price per square foot basis is $138 a square foot, the most expensive $448 a square foot. On the graphs at the bottom, you can see how many properties are available at each price point and how many properties are available at each size point. This is the Mid-North, 152 properties currently active. The largest home, 4,216 square feet. The smallest, 1,100 square feet. Least expensive, 270,000. Most expensive, $1,375,000. Price per square foot in the Mid-North ranges from 197 a foot to 634 a foot. This is the Mid-South, smallest home 1,156 square feet, largest 3,875 square feet, per foot ranging from 210 to 789, and the price in the Mid-South ranging from 300,000 to almost $3 million. And finally, we come to the area I'm calling the South, where there are 64 listings currently, ranging in size from 961 square feet to 2,654 square feet. Price per foot ranging from 230 to 509. The median priced home in the South, $425,000. I thought this graph would be interesting. Here we're looking at how much properties cost per square foot in the different regions of the villages. You can see the price per square foot on the x-axis and the number of listings on the y-axis. You can compare the north, middle, south, and south to the villages as a whole to get some idea as to the price per square foot in the different regions. Here we come to a graph that we think is interesting. It shows the number of new listings and the number of homes going pending on a week-by-week basis. The graph is a moving 4-week average. The data points are actual numbers. This week, 46 new listings compared to 39 last week. Number of homes going pending decreased from 40 to 33 this week. Last year, the same week, there were 11 more homes going pending than being listed. This week, there are 13 more homes being listed than going pending. And that gives rise to this graph where we keep track of the difference between new listings and homes going pending. This week, a negative 13. Last week, a positive 1. A year ago, a positive 9. Any reading below the zero line indicates increasing supply, and you would think that prices would fall. Any readings above the line would indicate more homes going pending than being listed, which would tend to support the market. So let's dive into these pending home sales quickly. This week they went pending at a median price of $264.92. Last week $253.79. A year ago $256.29. Keep in mind the graph is a smooth average. The data points are the actual weekly numbers. We've been keeping track of the median time on the market for the homes that went pending on a week by week basis. This week, median time was 51 days compared to 51 days the previous week, but this is a lot longer on the market than the 37 days that was in effect the same week a year ago. Then this is perhaps a clearer sign that sellers are starting to feel pressure. This week, the median price change for the homes that went pending was a 6.67% reduction. Last week, a 5.86% reduction. Last year, only a 5.47% reduction. Now let's look at sales. This week there were 30 sales, last week 38, a year ago 46. Lowest price home that closed last week was $190,000, originally $237,500, which is a 20% reduction. The most expensive home closing last week was $2,095,000, originally priced at $2,395,000, which is a 12.5% reduction. I should mention that of the 30 sales that closed last week, of the 5 that were not reduced, 1 actually went up in price from 334.5 where it was listed to 345.5 where it closed. Here we keep track on the price per square foot for the homes that closed last week, 239 down from the 254 of last week and down from the 253 of a year ago. We are once again below the falling trend line of prices here. And we started keeping this graph, giving us some idea as to how seasonal sales are. You can see that this week the number of sales was 30. Last year, the same week, it was 46. And 2 years ago, it was 42. It does seem apparent that for the second half of the year, activity definitely slows here in the villages. So let's return to all listings once again, and we're taking a look at what percentage of them have reduced their asking price from the original list price. This week, 51.57% of all listings have. Last week, that was 53.55%. And the same week a year ago, it was almost 60% of listings that had reduced their asking price. And more good news for sellers, the percentage of decrease for all listings is also improving. This week, a median 4.39% decrease. Last week, it was 4.46. A year ago, it was 4.82%. That is this week's look at the village's real estate market. If you're a buyer here, please consider using our data-driven approach to help you get a good deal. And if you're a seller, please consider using our approach. We'll help you justify the highest reasonable asking price. If you have any questions about the villages, life in Florida, or David is in Florida, please reach out to me either at the website DavidisinFlorida.com or at Gmail, DavidisinFlorida@gmail.com. I'll be happy to answer any questions and help you any way I can. Hope to hear from you. Take care.